and hopefully our last press conference for the month and siguro baka sa next 2 weeks pa ng April. We welcome our guest, Deputy Majority Leader and Tingog Party List Representative Jude Asidre. Sir, you have the floor for your opening remarks before we open the event to questions.
Una sa lahat, sa mga kaibigan natin sa media, magandang umaga po sa inyong lahat. I just want to bring back to mind the speech of the speaker yesterday. It has been a very productive 3 months or 4 months of session. We have accomplished so much. Landmark legislation passed, we had investigations concluded, and we have also performed our oversight function as Congress, as a lower house. And there is a general sense of satisfaction and fulfillment shared from among the members of Congress with the steady and visionary leadership of the Speaker. And I think mas lumalalim lang, mas lumalakas lang ang suporta naming mga miyembro ng kapulungan ng mga kinatawan sa pamumuno ng ating buting Speaker Martin Romualdez. Kasi nakikita natin na hindi lang ho puro salita, hindi lang ho puro pangako, kundi trabaho at resulta po ang binibigay ng ating speaker. At dahil ho yun, mas nahihikayat pa ang ating mga kinatawan na mas maigi pang magtrabaho. Malaking bagay po na meron tayong bakasyon sa susunod na mga araw, hindi lang para sa mahal na araw, para sa Semana Santa, kundi magiging panahon din to para kami naman ng mga kinatawan ay bumalik sa aming mga distrito, sa aming mga constituencies. Para, kasi syempre sabi nga nila, ang leadership hindi lang daw dapat nagsasalita, nakikinig po. Ang susunod na mga linggo, bagamat wala kami sa Kongreso at nakabreak po kami, ay magiging panahon upang pakikinig. Pakikinggan po natin dun mismo sa ating mga distrito, sa ating mga constituencies, ang ating mga kababayan, para mas mapainam pa at mas mabigyang emphasis pa ang kahalagahan ng ginagawa ho natin dito sa lehislatura. At I also take this opportunity to our friends in the media to thank you for your help in also presenting to the wider audience, to the general public, the work we do here. I think with you helping us amplify the message that we have and the work we do here, makes even our work more effective, more meaningful, and more impactful to all our fellow Filipinos. Thank you po.
Thank you, Kong Jude. We hope, Kong Jude, to hear kinder and gentle questions from RG Cruz
In the
of
spirit of the
ABS-CBN.
Holy Week.
Actually, sir, ang tanong, I only have 2 points. No? First point yung sa Chacha po. What is the next step of the House after the third reading approval of both RBH 7 and yung SMNI franchise revocation bill?
I will take one at a time. No? For the RBH 7, as far as the House is concerned, we've already fulfilled our mandate. We have passed the bill, the RBH. We have passed the resolution, and we have already forwarded it to the Senate. Now, we're looking at our friends in the upper house of what they will do, because as they insist, Congress is a bicameral body, and the actions of the House has to be reciprocated by the Senate. And we have full trust, considering na ang RBH 6 is authored by the Senate President, by the Senate pro tempore, President pro tempore, by the Majority Leader and the Chairman of the subcommittee. I have full trust in their capacity to convince their peers in the upper house, knowing that as the resolution number 7 actually states, no, na this is something that will be good for the country. Kasi yun ang sinulat nila sa counterpart resolution nila in the whereas clause. And I hope, no, with this, the instructions of the speaker is, the guidance from the speaker is to give as much time that the Senate requires in support of the president. However, we have to understand there are also there's a limited time frame to do this. As many of us actually know, the elections are coming, and we already cited that the most favorable time is for this to be passed before Congress adjourns sine die. So those are the things that we're looking at, the deadlines that hindi naman namin pwedeng tawagin we imposed on the Senate. But this is a reasonable time frame for them so that if really we mean what we say, and if the Senate means as what they said, then they will have to pass it before the sine die, because that's the time frame that makes it logical and makes it possible, feasible to have the plebiscite done either before or however it goes the 2025 elections.
SMNI.
Sa SMNI naman, napasa na rin natin, nasa Senado na rin. We cannot, of course, tell the Senate what to do. They will have to look into the evidence. They will have to look into the merits of the discussions as well as the bill that has been presented or referred to them. Our only hope is that the Senate would look at it really objectively and not to be swayed by external interests. I have full trust that the Senate has a track record of doing investigations, and I hope that they will also take this bill with the same impartiality and objectivity.
Sir, follow-up ko lang, i-implement nyo pa ba ng House yung detention order for Mr. Apollo Quiboloy?
To be honest, we have yet to hear from the Committee on Legislative Franchise. Objectively speaking, that has been made moot and academic with passage already of the bill revoking the franchise of SMNI. But there are serious considerations that we have to take into account. Una, Mr. Quiboloy has actually disrespected the House by not appearing despite many invitations to attend such hearings or investigations. Second, there has been reluctance even from the representatives of SMNI to answer the allegations made against them. Thirdly, the arrest warrant has to be the arrest warrant has to be rescinded officially by an act of the committee or by the leadership of the House. It's a formal step that has to be undertaken, and we're waiting for these three things. The committee will be the one who will make the decision in that respect. Ang sinasabi lang namin hindi naman pwede nating pabayaan na yung tao na ayaw magpakita kahit despite the many invitations to Congress will decide not to appear at all. Parang hindi naman pwedeng maging president to for future investigations porket ayaw kong magpakita, hindi na ako magpapakita. And that would significantly hamper the job we do here in Congress. And we have to act decisively, and I'm confident that the leadership of the committee as well in the House is also looking into these considerations.
My final topic. Sir, do you already have a position on the divorce bill? And can you share with us your thoughts?
Well, okay. My personal view is I am against divorce. I am against divorce because I believe that the Constitution considers marriage as an inviolable institution. I believe that societal order and stability in our country is founded upon the fact that marriage is lifelong. Mapapansin ninyo sa bansa natin, we have this culture of even caring for our elderly. And I think that is not just something arbitrary or cultural lang. That's actually grounded in the fact that we are a society that would put value on the family, and that's the reason why we even care for our elderly. So it's not just a religious conviction. It's not just it's a cultural reality that we have to take in account. And lastly, and most importantly, I'm against divorce kasi I believe the fact that marriage is for life is not something accidental to marriage. Pag sinabi mong kasal, in its most basic definition, panghabang buhay yun. Eh di, anong pinagkaiba ng kasal sa magjowa kung may way out, di ba? Eh kung pwedeng mag-break ang mag-asawa, eh di, iniba na natin ang definition ng kasal. And I think that's a fundamental question that we have to ask. It's not just a matter of whether we give divorce a chance or not, but are we also compromising marriage to a level that it leads to a breakdown in society? Yes, we're the only country that doesn't have divorce in the whole world. But are the countries having divorce any better than the countries that do not have? Diba? And there are statistics that say one divorce leads to another divorce. And in most cases, those who have one divorce actually makes it easier for them to have a second or third divorce. And could you imagine on a societal level, for a family, for the country, na ang social welfare system natin, aminin naman natin, ang pinaka-basic nating social security network ay ang sarili nating mga pamilya. Nakagraduate ka na nga, maghanap ka ng trabaho, saan tayo pupunta? Sa pamilya pa rin natin. Pagpapatulong, a breakdown to the family, a breakdown of marriage will definitely open problems for the family. So it's not a question of whether sinasabi nila, let those who want divorce and those who do not want divorce settle these differences amicably, di ba? Kung ayaw nyo ng divorce, hindi na para sa inyo yung divorce. No. Because marriage is a reality that is true for all. Di ba? And family is a reality that is true for all. Now, if you make this an option, you actually redefine marriage as it is. Whether I agree or do not agree with marriage, the moment we approve, whether I agree or do not agree with divorce, the moment we agree to have divorce in the country, we effectively redefine marriage as we know it. Now, I also have a proposal, and we're just waiting for the divorce debates to wind up, is hindi naman ako oblivious to the fact na meron talagang mga tao na nahihirapan sa kanilang mga married life. That's why I'm pushing for a radically simplified annulment process. Kasi sa simbahang Katoliko, kung saan mas maraming Pilipino to which many more Filipinos belong, actually pinadali na ni Pope Francis ang annulments. In fact, ang annulments, local decision na lang, diocesan na lang, halos libre, hindi na pahirapan, mas marami ng ground kasi mas malalim na ang pag-intindi natin sa human behavior, sa human psychology. So they took it all into account and he radically reformed church annulment. So ang gusto natin, kasi sinasabi naman nila na ang civil annulments has its source or kinopya nga halos sa canon law, bakit pwede naman natin gawin na ganun din when it comes to civil annulment? So ang mga panukala natin, una, kung pwede, mas madali na ang annulments kung mas marami ng mga grounds na klaro. Like for example, ang pambubugbog or repeated violence or repeated infidelity, those are grounds that have been known to have, kahit siya mag-manifest after the kasal, the tendencies would have already existed even before the wedding, even before the marriage. So dapat i-considera na siya sa annulments. Pangalawa, may suggestion tayo doon na sana gawin na summary proceedings ang mga annulment. Sa pamamagitan ng pag-decide muna sa status ng marriage before tayo dun kasi nakakatagal talaga sa kasal is yung pag-decide sa custody at sa property. Kung wala namang property yung pinag-uusapan, di ba? Kung wala namang problema sa mga anak kasi for one reason or the other. So baka pwedeng unahin na lang muna natin yung estado ng kasal and let the process continue on as they do in many other countries. Pangatlo, gusto natin ding i-relax ang restriction and collusion. Kasi pwede naman kasi magkaibigan na sila naintindihan na nila yung sitwasyon. And they can both agree to speed up the process. At pang-apat, ang gusto natin maging mas mababa ang cost ng annulments. Kaya nga may proposal tayo doon na summary proceeding, kung pwede ang proseso parang sa small claims na lang, documentation na lang. Kasi kahit nga siguro may divorce, kukuha ka pa rin ng abogado. At pag may abogado, that's another layer of expense. So, anong pinagkaiba sa suporta natin sa simplified annulments, sa revised annulments at sa divorce? Kasi sa divorce, ang pinuputol natin, ang kinokompromiso natin, yung institusyon mismo ng kasal. Yun ang hinahanapan natin ng mali. Sa annulments naman, ang tinitignan natin, ano yung kulang sa mag-asawa? Ano yung nilihim? Ano yung pagkukulan nilang dalawa? Para masabi natin, hindi pala kasal ang meron sila. But of course, it's a issue under debate in Congress. We are listening. We're listening carefully not only to the proponents of the bill who have presented excellent discourses, arguments in their favor. We also are listening to those who are against, and we're also listening to those who are lobbying for divorce in the country. We know that everybody who's involved, including myself, are passionate and are strongly affected in one way or the other with this legislation. Kaya nga po, sinasabi namin palagi, it's always good not to look at how different we stand on these issues, but rather focus on kung saan tayo pwedeng magtahi ng common ground. Hindi tayo pwedeng maging isang bansang nahati sa pro or anti-divorce. Kasi alam naman natin yung pighati, yung sakit, yung pinagdadaanan mga mag-asawang less than ideal yung situation. Pero gusto natin maghanap ng solusyon na mas katanggap-tanggap, mas morally consistent with the majority ng mga Pilipino, at mas magiging mas effective sa pagpapalakas pa ng institusyon ng pamilya sa ating lipunan.
Thank you, RG. Next question from Annalisa Berano of Bombo Radio.
Kong, good morning. Kong, I just want to ask, what happened po sa original plan ng House na ipadala ang RBH, yung approval ng RBH 7 sa COMELEC, pero kagabi in-announce ni Speaker na itatransmit sa Senate. So ano po ang aasahan natin since ang Senate po ay hindi pa rin gumagalaw sa kanilang mismong RBH number 6?
Well, first, we would, with the decision of the Speaker, I believe, is in cognizance of the call of the President, statement of the President saying that the House and the Senate has actually found common ground on the issue of constitutional reform. I think during their last trip to the Czech Republic and to Germany, them being together, that common ground has been achieved. And we're hoping that the Senate will follow through with its commitment to pursue that common ground. And yun na nga, sinasabi ko kanina, ako personally, kampante ako, kasi kung sa atin nga, hindi author si Speaker, ang unang mga author ay si Congressman JJ Suarez at si Senior Deputy Speaker Dong Gonzales, mas lalo pa sa Senado dapat na mas makonvince nila. Kasi ang authors nila doon ay si Senate President, si President Pro Tem, yung Majority Leader, at si Senator Angara. So, we're looking at that from that perspective. We're giving the Senate a chance to make good on their commitment. Besides, the timetable that we've set for ourselves is actually may oras pa naman. We're hopeful lang na their actions will match their words. We're hoping that the same confidence that they will match up the same confidence that we have in the Senate leadership and in our friends in the Senate themselves. The proposal of Majority Leader Manis Dalipe is one of many proposals. It's only indicative of the fact that the Supreme Court has yet to decide whether the accurate interpretation of the Constitution is when Congress meets for a constituent assembly, we vote separately or jointly. Now, we're not going to rush things. It's good to, kaya nga maganda, sabi nga ni DSJJ kahapon o yung mga nakarang araw, baka itong mga susunod na mga linggo ay mas akmang panahon para to reach out to our friends in the Senate, to reach out to our Senate President, to also continue on with the deliberation, but do with dispatch and urgency.
Sir, another question po. Naisabit na po din po yung revocation ng franchise ng SMNI sa Senate. Do you think, sir, na magiging masigasig din ang Senado sa pagtackle nito? Thank you.
I cannot speak for the Senate, but they have done it before. Investigations, di ba? Doon sila mas kilala mag-imbestiga, ang blue ribbon nila. And I think if they just look into the evidence, as we did in the House, after the so many meetings that we had, or many hearings that we conducted, I'm sure they will see the wisdom and the rationale for the decision of the House. And hopefully that would be reason good enough for them to pursue the passage of the bill revoking the franchise of SMNI.
Thank you, Annalie. Chrisia Subing from the Philippine Daily Inquirer.
Hello. Good morning, sir. Sir, follow up lang po dun kanina sa sabi niyo po na dun sa meeting sa Czech Republic po, nagkaroon po ng nag-come into a common ground po si Senate President Zubiri at si Speaker Martin Romualdez. What common ground are we talking about? Are we talking about the timeline, the amendments that are going to be introduced to the Constitution? What are these po?
If I look closely at the text of what the President said, I think he refers much to the scope, to the specific amendments that is both in RBH 6 of the Senate and RBH 7 of the House, and of course the commitment to pursue the approval of those amendments.
Right. So, bali po, wala pa rin pong common ground in terms of the timeline po. I mean, wala rin pong definite agreement from the Senate to pass it with dispatch, as you mentioned.
Well, I think that the timelines are self-apparent. Alam naman natin magkaka-election tayo in 2025, and whether we want the plebiscite to happen together with 25 elections or whether we want to do it ahead of the 2025 elections, still that's a deadline that we don't even have to, we expect the Senate to know, diba? And if they mean what they said, that they will pass this, they know that that is the ultimate deadline. And if you work back the calendar coming from the elections, you know that you should pass it before the sine day. Those are not arbitrary deadlines that the House got from thin air and say, no, you have to pass it by then. We know these deadlines are self-apparent. They're there. We will have elections in 2025. We will file our certificates of candidacy in October this year. So siguro, kung tama nga ang sinasabi nila at gusto nilang i-pursue, kung totoo sila sa commitment nila, they will take those dates into consideration.
And last na po. Sir, kahapon po dun sa explanation of the no votes po, na-raise na naman po yung concern that the procedure by which RBH 7 was pursued is faulty daw po. I remember kasi kayo po yung una nag-raise na the House will be pursuing Chacha via the Bernas formula po. So, I'm wondering what are your thoughts on those po?
I will have to contextualize what I said before. I said we will follow the Bernas formula that the Senate initiated. Diba? Mas klaro yon. Kasi it was the Senate who chose this path. If you ask, I remember rightly na sinabi ko, if you ask the House, we would have preferred the CONAS. We would have preferred even a CONCON, which is the most conservative way of amending the Constitution. But the Senate has taken this act of using the Bernas formula by doing a separate deliberation on their RBH. And then we're compelled because as a bicameral body, the House also has to undertake the same process that's being done in the other house. Now, we have fulfilled our part. It's up now to the Senate to fulfill their part. Now, so far as the constitutionality of what we did is to be determined, that's not up to us. It's up to the Supreme Court to say so. Until it is challenged in the Supreme Court, and until the Supreme Court have decided with finality, then we will stand by the legality of what we did.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Sir, isingit ko lang tong phone-in question from Haji Camino of Brigada. Yun daw bang pagpasa ng House sa RBH, sa SMNI revocation, franchise revocation ay connected sa 2028 presidential elections?
Alam mo, matagal pang 2028 and I really don't like to comment on things that might happen or proposition or suppositions, di ba? When we decided to revoke the franchise of SMNI, it was based on the evidence that was there. There was a change of ownership, it was not reported. There are questions about tax payments were not made. There are evidences that say there was fake news, there were derogatory statements, there were even threats of instability, reg tagging. All those are in the sponsorship speech of Congressman Gus Pambunting, and we were able to look at the evidence. Was co-author of the bill, by the way. We were able to look at the evidence that it is. Yun yung as it is. Now, whether it will be for 2028, I don't even want to comment on possibilities, di ba?
Thank you, sir. Marian Enriquez from Channel 5, TV5.
Good morning, sir. Kahapon po meron na hearing yung Committee on Transportation and lumabas po doon sa usapin po ng PCG modernization na may 36 daw po ng Chinese nationals na na-recruit at nakapasok doon sa Philippine Coast Guard Auxiliary Force nila. So, ano po yung inyong reaction dito? Though, delisted na daw po noong December last year, pero apparently 2 to 3 years daw pa pala sila nagtagal doon sa loob ng Coast Guard.
Actually, that is a welcome development na na-delist na sila. Because otherwise, it would have been really alarming that in our country's security forces, even if they say they're just PCG auxiliaries, no, may napapasukan tayo. Akala ko nga sa pelikula lang nangyayari yung ganung mga bagay, di ba? And to think, when you are a PCG auxiliary, you actually wear a uniform, and for this for the uniform of the PCGs, the agency na involved sa pagprotekta ng West Philippine Sea, parang double whammy naman tayo doon, di ba? Sana lang, no, and I call on all the agencies that have auxiliary auxiliary bodies or institutions like the PCG auxiliary. I hope they look into the qualifications. I hope that this should be a lesson for us moving forward, and also to probably look into it closely kung bakit sila nakapasok, sino yung mga nagpahintulot, who turned a blind eye, or I'm sure hindi naman pwedeng nangyari lang yun na sila lang eh. I'm sure there will be people who should be made accountable. It's not what we can consider an honest mistake. I'm sure the concealment is something that's malicious, and that is a serious threat to national security.
Thank you, Marian. Big Sabintak from Net25.
Sir, anong masasabi po ng House of Representatives despite na kahapon si Senior Deputy Speaker Don Gonzales excited na ibalita na certified as urgent bill yung bagong procurement bill, pero sa Senado hindi nila inaksyonan kahit second reading man lang?
Actually, author din po ako ng government procurement law. Tapos kasama din po ako sa TWG. Alam ko po ang hirap na ginugol natin para magkaroon ng mas makabago at mas responsive na procurement code, no, for the country. At ang maganda pa niyan, hindi tayo natapos sa procurement code. Pinaresan pa natin ng bagong auditing code. I hope lang, no, it's quite disappointing lang actually, to be honest, especially when you're one of the co-authors na despite the president's call to certify, the president's action to certify the said legislation as urgent, parang nagsialisan yata sila sa IPU or nagplaplano munang pumunta sa IPU sa biyahe, no. So that's really something that I hope the Senate will make good, especially considering that this is a piece of legislation that's important to the overall economic and fiscal reforms that present administration is pursuing. Maraming mga individual, mga enterprises have had problems with government procurement, and the bill was projected really as a response to that, so we can make our procurement process more responsive, efficient, and transparent. In fact, yung isang proposal doon is yung pag-institutionalize sa best value procurement na palagi nating pinupush. Hindi palaging tama yung lowest responsive calculated bid, di ba? Parang mas gusto natin, we get also the quality. I hope our senators will see the importance of that. Clearly, the president, by certifying it as urgent, understands the importance of that bill. Unfortunately, the importance or the urgency of that measure has escaped the attention of our friends in the Senate.
Thank you, Vic. Elson Quismorio from Manila Bulletin.
Hello, Kong. Good morning po. As we know po, kakatapos lang po nung World Economic Forum Country Roundtable dito po sa Pilipinas. Anyway, the WEF mentioned po na our country, the Philippines, has the potential to become a $2 trillion economy in the next 10 years, comparable to the size of countries like Canada, Italy, and Brazil, if it can maintain po key reforms and sustain strong economic growth. So, how do you see RBH 7 play into this, lalo na kakapasa lang po natin?
I had the chance to attend the business meeting, the forum with the business community ni U.S. Commerce Secretary Gina Raimundo when she visited last week. And clearly, many times in her speech, she pointed out that these legislative reforms, including relaxing the restrictions to certain economic sectors, is sending a clear message that the Philippines is open for business. And I think it's important that we follow through with that observation. Sayang naman, nandito na, ika nga nila, you strike when the iron is hot. So nandito na tayo, we have a president who understands the importance of foreign direct investments, not only that, of also reaching out to the international community, providing a better and a rosier picture of our country on the international scene. You have a legislature, you have the speaker, who is serious and determined in providing the necessary legislation for the administration to carry out its fiscal, economic, and social reforms. So andito na lahat yung recipe. Nasa atin na lang ho. At lalong-lalo ng RBH, we understand these are key sectors. You have the utilities sector, by which competition and efficiency brought about by increased foreign direct investments will also help bring costs down. By providing more foreign participation, at least in equities. Second, ang ating participation ng foreign investors in education will go a long way in improving our human resource, which in the same economic forum, yung roundtable, sinabi nila na ang pinakamalaking strength ng Pilipinas is our young population. And you add that with world-class education, that will go a long way in improving our trajectory, di ba? Yung trajectory natin towards becoming a strong economy as determined by, as projected by the World Economic Forum. Pangatlo, yung advertising. Advertising in a world where media plays a significant role, where much of the entertainment and behavior of people are influenced by advertising, by communications, and with the huge potential ng ating creatives industry, malaking bagay po ang capital na pwedeng dalhin ng ating mga foreign investors in advertising. In fact, it has been raised many times. Pwede nating masabi nandito lang sila eh. Although we're not maximizing because we're actually the restriction has hampered the direct participation. So those are very if to my mind those are not minor sectors to be that were presented in RBH7. They're actually strong fundamental building blocks in improving our position as an opportunity for foreign direct investors.
Thank you, boss.
Thank you.
Thank you, Elson. Kat from Radyo Pilipinas.
Good morning po, Kong. Hingin ko lang po yung thoughts po ninyo regarding po doon sa recent na approval ng Joint Committee on Ways and Means, Senior Citizens, and PWD regarding po doon sa paano kala po nabigyan pa po ng employment opportunities yung ating mga senior citizen.
Well, first of all, no, magandang panukala, and we'd like to thank the Committee on Ways and Means for acting with dispatch on the proposal. And I think the Speaker has emphasized his position many times over this issue. Dalawang bagay kasi yan. Una, syempre mas may kikitain sila if they become more productive, no? And many of the senior citizens hindi naman na nakapaganda for the retirement, and we welcome any opportunity to bring them. Kung kaya rin lang naman kumita, sana wala ng discrimination, sana wala ng, kung kaya naman nilang gampanan yung demands ng trabaho, sana we encourage yung employment ng mga seniors sa ating workforce. Second is, nakikita din natin yung value ng ating mga seniors as human resource. Meron din silang pwede pang iambag, kung hindi man sa lakas, sa experience at dunong nila. And I'm sure there are businesses there are enterprises, there are businesses that would benefit from their experience. And it's good that we're putting this forth, itong proposal na yung employability ng ating mga seniors, because we will be able to harness once more dun sa experience at karunungan na meron ng ating mga seniors. And to stress a point na, no, you've seen the Speaker and the House push for legislation that provides wider social equity para sa ating mga kababaihan, senior citizens, sa ating mga PWDs. I think that's only consistent with what the President, with the Speaker. I mean, si Speaker palagi niyang paulit-ulit yung quote ni President Ramon Magsaysay eh. Those who have less in life should have more in law. And I think we're being true to that principle by President Magsaysay, no, na sana yung mga hindi mas may mas less ginhawa sa buhay, mas mabibigyan natin ng mas maraming pagkakataon sa ating ginagawa sa pagpapanday ng mga batas at pulisiya.
Thank you, Kong. Recently po, nagkaroon po tayo ng Tingog Summit. Baka po pwede niyo lang pong ma-share sa amin kung tungkol po saan ito. Yan na po. Thank you.
Ay nagkaroon po kami kahapon, katatapos lang po ng Tingog Party List ang ating Tingog Summit. Ito po ay pagtitipon ng National Tingog Summit, ay pagtitipon po ng mga kinatawan, mga staff, mga volunteers ng iba't ibang mga Tingog centers ang Tingog Party List mula sa iba't ibang bahagi ng Pilipinas. Sa ngayon po, meron na po tayong 114. Actually, magiging 117 by the end of the day kasi ngayon binubuksan po yung 3 pa nating centers sa Laguna. Itong mga Tingog centers po, inisyatiba po to ng Tingog Party List sa pangunguna ni Congresswoman Yeda Romualdez. Nagmula po ito nung panahon ng pandemya. Kasi nung panahon ng pandemic, medyo sarado po tayo dito sa Congress. Yung mga humihingi po ng tulong, hindi po makalapit. Nahihirapan po makapasok. So ang ginawa natin, binaba po natin ang serbisyo ng ginagawa ng Tingog Party List, ang ating mga assistance program, livelihood, binabaho natin sa community. At nakita naman ho natin na naging responsive ito. Mas pinalakas pa natin at nung kaming dalawa na ni Kong Yeda ang kinatawan ng Tingog Party List, mas maraming center po ang nabuksan natin. So mula po sa Davao del Sur hanggang sa La Union, sa iba't ibang bahagi ng Pilipinas, bukas po ang ating mga Tingog centers. At itong mga nakaraang 3 araw, panahon ho para mag-updating, malakas pa ng ugnayan ng ating mga centers, and hopefully mas ma-inspire sila, ma-encourage na mas pagbutihin pa yung ginagawa nila sa kanilang mga Tingog centers.
Yun lang po. Thank you po, Kong.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kat. Before we recognize Joy Cantos from Filipino Star and Red Mendoza from Manila Times, allow me to read the phone-in question from Mela. Kong Jude, bukas inaabangan na ang bagong Pilipinas Servicio Fair sa Butuan City. Butuan, sorry. Gaano kahalaga po ba ito? Isa ba ang BPSF Caravan sa mga pagkakaabalahan ng mga kongresista habang naka-session break?
Well, this is ang ilan ng BPSF? 14 na?
I think
Oo.
13 or 14.
Oo, ang BSF po isa po tong inisyatiba ng Office of the Speaker na mabubungkol pulungan at ng ating presidente, no, kung saan ang mga programa ng ating gobyerno ay ibinababa po sa mga kababayan natin. Ang goal is to be able to have one Servicio Fair, bagong Pilipinas Servicio Fair in each of the 80 provinces na meron tayo ngayon. So, 2 araw po ito, lahat to mga 50 agencies po ang involved, more than 150 services, mga payouts, mga regulatory services, kahit to mag-renew ng lisensya sa PRC, sa lisensya sa driving, nandun po. 2 po ang naging layunin nito. Una, from the point of view of the House, no? Una, ito'y pagkakataon para makapagpaabot ng mas malaki pang tulong at mas maraming tulong sa ating kababayan. Kung nakapunta na ho kayo sa mga Servicio Fair, kayo mismo, ako mismo namamangha, nakakatulong tayo ng 100,000, 150,000, 70,000, 80,000 people na minsanan lang mangyari sa mga lugar, lalo na sa mga probinsya. Siguro kung sa Metro Manila, kung saan accessible ang mga serbisyong ito, medyo hindi natin ramdam ng gano'n kalalim ang mga serbisyong ito. Pero sa mga lugar, like kasama ako doon sa Sultan Kudarat, kitang-kita natin kung gaano kainit at gaano kasaya ang ating mga kababayan na matatanggap nila ang mga serbisyong ito. Pangalawa, para sa amin naman as legislators, malaking bagay at siguro papapansin nyo maraming mga congressmen ang sumasama kasi nakikita namin for ourselves yung pagpanday namin ng annual budget every year. Nakikita natin kung paano nagagamit ng mga agencies. And to be honest, more than just delivering services, the BPSF actually, ang bagong Philippine Servicio Caravan, has made us more aware of the programs of government. Natatawa nga ho kami minsan, nasa entablado kami, may turnover, sabihin namin, meron palang ganung programa yung ganitong agency, di ba? So, when we look at the budget, when we follow through with the budget, when we examine the budget every year as we do for the budget hearings, mas kakaiba na ang appreciations namin. Kasi may mukha na. May situation na, may kwento na sa mga nakikita naming numero lang. And I think that's the best reason for the participation of the House. Na yung nakikita nating numero lang sa budget, item lang sa budget, may mukha na, may kwento na. So I know, and this will be more reflected in the next cycle of budget deliberations, na magiging mas masigasig ang ating mga kongresista sa pakikipag-ugnayan sa mga ahensya para mas maintindihan pa ang mga programa na minsan hindi natin napapansin. Pero kung titignan natin sa level ng ating mga kababayan sa grassroots, ay napakalaking bagay, napakalaking ginawa para sa kanila.
Thank you, sir. Joy Cantos from Filipino Star ngayon.
Good morning po, Congressman. Sir, In addition po doon sa SMNI franchise revocation, sabi po ni Speaker Romualdez, trabaho lang, walang personalan. What are the lessons learned, sir? Is it a stern warning to some media outlet not to engage in misinformation, sa mga fake news, or to be used in any political agenda, including yung with vested interest? Sama na rin po natin yung mga interloper grandstander.
Well, I'll take it from the speech of Congressman Bordado yesterday when he explained his vote. We are all for press freedom. I will always protect the right of someone to speak, even if I do not agree with the person who's saying it. I will always, me personally, I will always protect one's freedom to speech, even if what is going to say will not be favorable to me. But, as he said yesterday, there is always a certain level of accountability and responsibility that comes with our rights. And clearly in this case, SMNI has fallen short of the measure. SMNI has not met the standards that required. And I think what they did, or as the evidence would show that they did, and as the findings of the committee would show, it's actually an affront to press freedom. I think all of us in the media community who work so hard to maintain certain standards of carrying out a profession will not feel right that there are sectors in our midst that would take lightly of the accountability that is directed with press freedom. Hindi rin nyo naman gugustuhin na merong isa sa inyo na hindi susunod sa mga patakaran na kaakibat ng pagiging isang journalist. And I think the actions of SMNI, the actions of the House on the SMNI bill, it will serve to strengthen press freedom by also putting an equitable emphasis on press responsibility. I don't think an abuse of press freedom or things like fake news or propaganda that's being used, that's being distributed or broadcasted using the franchise that is given as a privilege to certain stations, will in the end serve press freedom. I don't think it will help press freedom in the end. Secondly, sana hindi natin makalimutan ang prangkisang pinag-uusapan. Hindi naman namin kinitil yung individual journalists, yung right nila magsalita. Press freedom, yung franchise yung pinag-uusapan doon sa bill. Because the franchise is not a right. It's a privilege. It's a privilege given because you are committed to perform a public good. And part of the public good that it requires is to be able to transmit news objectively and truthfully. And in this case, the committee has found that there are certain lapses. And also, with the obligation set forth in the original franchise. Yung pag-report na may change of ownership and things like that na hindi naman na-perform. Yun lang sana yung na-consider in the start. Pribilehiyo po ang prangkisa. At kung Kongreso po ang nagbigay ng prangkisang yon na hindi ginamit ng tama, nasa lugar din po ang Kongreso para bawiin po yun.
Sir, with due regards to the upcoming Balikatan joint military exercises between the AFP troops and the U.S. forces, they will be conducting an array of military drills, and part of that is foreign ops, or rather the freedom of navigation exercise in the West Philippine Sea. They said it will be beyond the 12 nautical limit. And when you say 12 nautical miles, it's international water. We know for a fact that there is an issue of hegemony between the U.S. forces and China. The U.S. being one of the mightiest military in the world, and China as the emerging military titans, do you think it would be beneficial to send a strong signal for the country to assert its sovereign rights over the contested territory?
Whatever effort to maintain the status quo and to maintain peace in any part of the world, or particular in this case in the West Philippine Sea is always a welcome addition to our efforts for peace. No? Double naman yung peace eh. It's not always about we can pursue peace also by making sure and positioning ourselves that we are in the position to protect ourselves, and we have the help of our allies to also maintain our national security. I think that's the far more important thing, that we are able to project ourselves, that we will not allow any part of the country to be exploited or to be invaded or occupied by another power. And if it takes to such posturing to project that strength and that stability, and when in case we have to show that we have the support of our many friends to maintain the same stability and security in our country, then I think it's a welcome development. Thank you.
Thank you, Joy. Red Mendoza from Manila Times for today's last questions.
Yan po. Good morning po, Kong. SMNI po ulit tayo kasi I asked one of the hosts of SMNI, Lorraine Badoy, about her comments dun sa pagkakasara ng franchise. And sinabi niya na, and I quote her, na the biggest losers of the curtailment of the revocation of the franchise is the Filipino people. And the biggest winners daw are the CPP, NPA, NDF, which you know po are of course sila po yung kalaban, quote unquote, ng SMNI, because they have brought nothing but grief and suffering to our people and to the destruction of our country for over half a century. Alam naman po natin ng SMNI ay sabihin na natin anti-CPP, NPA, NDF. What is your take po on Dr. Lorraine Badoy's statement na ang matatalo sa SMNI ay hindi ang mananalo sa ang matatalo daw dito ay ang Filipino people na gusto nang kumawala laban sa CPP, NPA, NDF?
First, I would want to know more how she would qualify how the Filipinos would be the biggest loser in the case of the revocation of the SMNI franchise. I don't think the Filipinos are the losers when it refers to less fake news being in the media, when there is less propaganda on the media, plain political propaganda, when there is truthfulness in the reporting and there is accountability in the discharge of their duties appended to their franchise. I don't think the Filipino has lost anything. Filipinos of the country has lost anything as so far as those areas are concerned. Now, in reference to the issue about CCP, NPA, NDF, I don't think instigating an atmosphere of hate actually creates peace. Hindi yata makakamit ang kapayapaan by maintaining an atmosphere of animosity and fear among our people. I think our people know better than that.
Follow up lang po, Kong. Ano po yung masasabi po ninyo sa mga employees naman ng SMNI? Reporters, editors, producers, journalists. Kasi nga po, they are the ones who are reporting also the news, pero they're also in the front line supporting the network. So ano pong masasabi niyo po? What are your assurances to these employees?
Well, first of all, I respect their position. Anybody in their shoes would have every reason to support their own management. But second, this should primarily be a concern of the management. Diba? And I really feel bad when they project these issues as if kasalanan namin kasi we voted for the revocation of the franchise. When the management decided not to report a change in ownership, when the management decided to keep fueling on this fake news, when that angry rhetoric, their hateful rhetoric, when they keep on encouraging this, they should have thought of their employees in the first place. They should have thought about the accountability appended to their franchise, because in the end, the franchise is a privilege. Diba? Sana inisip nila. Now, the government's part, of course, we will do our best to provide for whatever means they come during the transition. Government, may mga programa tayo na pwede nating ipagkaloob, and I'm sure even my colleagues in Congress would be happy to welcome opportunities to help out those who would need help at this particular time. Anyway, their franchise is not yet. It would be premature to presume that na-revoke na yung franchise nila. We only done on the part of the House. But in any case that happens, I'm sure there'll be steps taken to address that. What we just want to correct is that impression na kasalanan ng Congress na nawalan sila ng trabaho. In the first place, everything that they did was a management position. And if there's one group that needs to be made accountable, it's the management itself.
Okay. Last question na lang po. Sorry po. Kasi may lumabas pong print ad po ngayon sa dyaryo. Sa amin po yata lumabas. Kasi the widow of Congressman Hagedorn is urging the House leadership to push for a special election sa district niya, 3rd District of Palawan, which is currently kine-caretake ngayon ni Speaker. As a member of the majority and the Committee of Rules, ano po ang inyong thought po dito sa call ng widow ni Hagedorn? Meron din po siyang mga signatures ng mga constituents po nila urging the Congress to hold a special election po sa distrito na yon.
To be honest, I'm not too privy with the situation there, no? And I know there are certain rules that have to be taken into consideration as to the timelines when a special election can be held. And lastly, I know there are fiscal considerations in conducting special elections. So, unfortunately, I cannot give you a definite answer on that. But we'll see what we can do siguro next time pag meron.
Thank you.
Thank you, Red. Gusto ko lang magpasalamat ulit sa Press and Public Affairs Bureau, headed by Director Jun Pisco, sa Engineering Department, sa Information and Communication Technology Service, led by Director Arnold. Thank you for consistently providing us the technical support, and of course, yung very important sa media, yung transcript ng daily briefings. Maraming salamat po ulit. Kong Jude, you have the floor for your brief closing statement.
First of all, as I mentioned, I would like to thank our friends in the media for helping us amplify the message and the work we do here in Congress. These past few weeks have been a challenging time for us. Of course, you've seen that, you've heard that in terms of public opinion. And however, as a young legislator myself, this has also been a very inciting few weeks. Ang dami naming natutunan, and part of that because of the feedback you give. And I hope we can always depend on our friends in the media for feedback, for learnings, for insight, so that, alam mo, sabi nga nila, the first duty of leadership is always to listen. At andun kayo, hindi lang kayo nagpapalakas ng ginagawa namin dito, kayo din yung nagpapaabot ng mga hinaing, mga paniniwala at concerns ng ating mga kababayan para mas mapaayos pa namin itong ginagawa namin na pagpapanday ng mga batas at pulisiya para sa bansa. So maraming salamat po sa inyo, at sa darating pong mga araw, ang request lang ho namin sa ating mga kababayan as we celebrate Easter and the Holy Week is to pray for our country. Government is full of very good people. Congress is full of very good people who want the best for our nation. But your prayers, everyone's prayers, will go a long way in making them realize that their good work is appreciated by a grateful nation. Maraming salamat po. Happy Easter po sa ating lahat.
Thank you, Deputy Majority Leader Jude of Tingog Party List for joining us today. Sa ating pong lahat, marami pong salamat at ingat po tayo ngayong Holy Week.